morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television Ibadan. I am Samson Balogun. Nigeria's political landscape is already taking shape ahead of the next election cycle. And this morning, attention turns to the APC presidential primary, where President Bola Tinubu defeated his sole challenger, Stanley Osifo. While the outcome may not have come as a surprise to many political observers, it still raises important questions about internal party democracy, political dominance, and the state of opposition within major political parties. Does a largely uncontested primary reflect party unity and confidence, or does it reveal a shrinking space for internal debate and competition? This is our Daybreak gist this morning. We'll also bring you the weather report and Daybreak news, covering the stories making headlines across Nigeria and around the world. And I'm Milemi Uluwa. Later, we turn to the newspapers where the front pages this morning reflect a country balancing politics, governance, security concerns, and economic realities. We'll examine the headlines, the reactions behind them, and the issues likely to dominate public conversation in the days ahead. And then our big story moves from politics to one of the country's most urgent social concerns, beyond the gate, rewriting the blueprint for 21st century school safety in Nigeria across the country. Growing fears around insecurity in schools have continued to force difficult conversations about preparedness, protection, and responsibility. From infrastructure gaps to emergency response systems and community involvement, many are asking whether Nigeria's schools are truly equipped for the realities of today's security environment. And joining us for that conversation is Dr. Bisiaki Alabi, education and security expert and eminent stakeholder in the education sector. And before we wrap up the show this morning, Trendwatch takes us through the stories, debates, and moments Nigerians are reacting to across the digital space this morning. Right. A nation's priorities are often reviewed by what it protects the most. This morning, we look at power, leadership, and the safety of the next generation. This is Daybreak Live. Stay with us this morning. Well, we shall begin right now. And good morning to you. Good morning. And a wonderful morning to our esteemed viewers out there. Happy New Week to you. It's a wonderful week to you. And of course, we'll say thank you for joining us once again this week for another interesting and engaging edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. And this takes us to the APC. I mean, it's a conversation that we must all have. And judging by what happened over the weekend, and and questions and concerns being raised about the APC presidential primaries, and a lot has happened actually. When you talk about the political landscape, especially with internal democracy in the APC, but one thing stands out: even though the president is still, he's still very much in office, ill and healthy, someone deemed it fit to challenge him and say, look, it's not going to be a walkover for you. We are not going to do a coronation, just like one of the political juggernauts in Nigeria mentioned, a few months ago during the ADC meeting, and said there will be no coronation. That's talking about Rauf Aregbesola. He mentioned that recently and said there will be no coronation. But then we cannot consider what just happened yesterday as a coronation. It was actually a contested primary, even though it was not keenly contested. But someone has to win. And Stanley Osifo gave a good account of himself, regardless of how many votes he got. At least he stood tall. He could have withdrawn along the line. And he paid over 100 million naira. To get this done. I think 100 million naira for the nomination form, and then other expenses are to come. I mean, also having people monitor your votes across the country also gobs a lot of money. So let's say, give or take, he must have spent about 300 to 400 million naira over that. And that for me is not a loss. It's a man trying to put himself where he should be and where he thinks he has to be. He has put himself right at the heart of the president, whether you like it or not. The next time the president hears of Stanley Osifo, you know who exactly that is. And that politically, that's a game being played right there. It might just be, someone even mentioned that it might not really be contesting to actually win. It might just be saying, look, let me make a point. Let me put myself right there where the president sees me and knows exactly who Stanley Osifo is. Maybe in the long run, there might be some benefits that comes with it. Maybe an appointment, but then that has been done. And you saw the multitude of crowds that actually welcomed the president in his home state in Lagos. And You saw how much votes he garnered, over 10 million votes. I mean, going into the 2027 general election, that gives you a clear idea of how many votes would the APC get. If his party members can give him 10 point something million votes, I mean, there will be Nigerians who are not even politicians who will vote for him. Give or take, he knows what direction he's facing going into the next general election.
All right, and so let me say congratulations to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on winning that. I think it was democratic because according to some persons, if consensus does not work, I mean, it's best to go for the primaries, and then he won. And then also Stanley Osifo, a 50-year-old man from Ovia and Northeast local government, and a dual person, basically, and he's a businessman turned politician. And then this is not the first time that he'll be an aspirant or maybe contestant. I think in 2019, he was an aspirant under the People's Democratic Party, and then so he's not new to the game, right. And then he contested, even though some persons were saying, oh, it was planned, Osifo never wanted to, just slug it out with the president. People will say all sorts, in issues like this, but then he's come out to defend himself to say it was not planned. I wanted to contest and I contested. So the president not asked me to go and contest. I just slug it out with him so that it will not look like a coronation, just like some persons mentioned. So basically the president, he pulled about 10,999,000 votes and then about 162 other votes. So close to 11 million votes. And then if you check his vote in the 2023 elections, he had about 8.7 billion votes. So it is massive, right? And then if you check Stanley had about 16,503 votes. In some states, he didn't even record one vote. In Edo, for instance, no vote. But then in some states, he had like 5, 4, and so
even in your state, he had some votes.
Exactly, and then in some states, he had no vote at all. But I think in Bayelsa alone, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had about 277,000 votes. In some states, it was more than that. I think in Edo State, about 110,000 votes. So basically, he had massive vote, and across the 8,803 wards in the country, he was able to pull about 10.9 million votes. That's massive, and of course, it shows that the APC people came out en masse to come and vote for him. And now back to the discussion around, okay, maybe Stanley, it was planned, this and that. I think after the whole thing, Stanley and the president met. There was a video where they met, and then he even shook the president. The president shook him, and then he promised to work for the president, to work for the party. Because I remember, even recently, a party man was also asked, okay, after this whole election in your state, who are you going to be supporting? He said, I'm a party man. And someone said, that alone can naturally trend for it. Was asked about 4 times.
Actually, Stanley Osifo when he went to the collation center.
And then you can see that, that's a good one, looking at both of them, I don't think there's any bad blood anywhere. No, basically, he knew he cannot win. Like so, I mean, he just wanted to contest.
You can't say never. Actually, sometimes politics is more or less like it's something you can't really predict. And I was talking to someone about the issue of gubernatorial primaries in Kwara State, and said a particular aspirant went to bed as a candidate. He was so sure that the governor had his back, and I woke up the next morning as an aspirant because someone else had been chosen, which was the Speaker of the House of Assembly in Kwara State. So politics can be a little bit dicey. What if everyone in the APC says, look, let's just turn our back at this man and then maybe look for someone else? And Stanley Osifo is also from the south. So it might just be, but then it was not likely to happen. But, permutations could actually make it seem like that. But then let's listen to, let's see the president while he was in Lagos for his primary election. Because some people made some claims about, there was a kidnapping in Nigeria, and especially in Oyo State, and he did not come to Oyo State. He was, back in his home state for the primary election. Let's listen to the president, and then we'll come back and discuss that. Does that really mean anything? And how much of a dent would that be on the president himself? We'll come back after watching this particular one. We'll be back.
Thank you. How are you?
that that was the president's polling unit himself. He was there. And, you know, on getting there, there were a lot of people waiting for him. And for those who said the president has no support in the north, I don't know where they got that permutation from, where they got their assertion from. But anything can happen before the election. But did you see the crowd in the north, especially in Borno, in Kano? I mean, just one word was way more than what you will see. Even in Kaduna, just one word was way more than what you will see in some local governments in some states in Nigeria.
Right, it was really massive. So most of the persons who mentioned that he does not have support in the north are basically people from the opposition party. So I mean, it's very normal for them to say that you will not get support, especially with the rumor that broke at the time that he wants to change his vice
VP,
president.
yes.
So people said, oh, if he decides to do that, that means he might lose, you know, the total support that he has, you know, from the northerners. So people came out en masse to vote for him. See, I'm not really surprised, and maybe that's why I mentioned at the time that it was obvious that President Bola Ahmed was going to win. Before the election, the NWC, the NEC, the Progressive Governors Forum, they all supported President Bola Ahmed. They were singing on your mandate which has started. If you look at the meetings, that even then Nigerians were complaining that why are these people singing? They were, as far back as 2025, they were singing on your mandate we shall stand. So those people already gave him the support. So the primaries was just to formalize things, basically. So just say, okay, because we don't want people to say, okay, we gave him consensus, let's just come, let's run the primaries, and then they spent monies, millions of naira, or maybe billions, we really can't say. So I think basically it was obvious that he was going to win, and then the North also gave him the support. So whether this support that he got in the North will also transform to votes come 2027 for the general elections, I think that's one thing that APC must actually work on. But basically, we saw that it got support from across the country, the north, the east, even in south, even in Oyo State. You know, there is majorly a PDP state. It got votes here, massive votes across other states. Let's not even talk about states where he had governors. You know, talk about Edo, talk about, you know, Akwa Ibom and things like that. It got massive votes across it. 10.9 million votes. It's no joke. It's even more than what he got when he won presidential election in 2023.
And this is just people from his own political party.
We are not even talking about the people that came out almost last election to come and vote for him. So maybe people, I don't want to speculate basically, but then most Nigerians online, they are trying to say, okay, if you can get 10.9 million votes, you know, so how many votes is he going to gather in the next election? But then election, anything can happen. We really cannot tell basically. So it depends on these same people coming out to vote for him, to still come out to vote for him, you know, for the general elections.
Well, if you look at you know, the current trajectory in the APC, I think right now, no political party has been more ready for an election in the history of Nigeria with what they have right now. Because you look at how these things, you know, even in the so-called Senate claims, it's a term I don't really like to use because you know, everywhere is a Senate claim depending on what you are looking for. But then even in the US and the UK, there are pre-elections polls where you would know, oh, we are so weak in so area. What exactly can we do to boost our votes in these areas? Oh, we are very strong here. How can we cement what we already have there? And you will know, even before the election, that there's a likelihood that this particular person would win. Look at the last presidential election in America that brought in Donald J. Trump. He knew where he was strong, he knew where he was weak, and they were working assiduously to make sure that those places he was weak, there was something they could do to make sure that, you know, they got so much votes in those places, at least to boost what they already had. And that's exactly what the APC has done. Though no opinion poll, so to speak, but then what they did with their primary, with their registration in their political parties, they made sure that they had figures. Okay, if there is any form of accusation after this election in 2027, the APC had something to bank on. Oh, when we had our primary elections, registered voters, we had so amount of votes. Are you saying we are going to have less in the general election? These are questions that people would ask, and the law is not blind. Okay, no matter how look at what Peter Obi did, you know, after the last election, went to court, but then the court found that there were no concrete evidences that these things you are complaining about actually happened. In fact, there was a time they asked him a question: if you are complaining this much, what will happen to the person that came second in an election? So, I mean, we would first treat that of the person that came second before we now start talking about you. So, it's more or less like the APC are so prepared. Look at what they've been doing, the City Boy movement, the Renewed Hope ambassadors, which Senator Teslim Kolawole Folani is actually the leader of that particular movement in Oyo State. And in fact, he was more or less like the one in charge of coalition for the president when it comes to his primary election. And he has something to say day before yesterday. We've been talking about his silence. Okay, he's been so silent about happenings in the Oyo State APC. He's been active at the federal level, actually, because he's got some responsibilities handed over to him by the president. But when it comes to Oyo State politics, he hasn't really said anything. Yesterday, he mentioned something. He said something. In fact, when you say nothing, it's actually something, actually, when it comes to reporting. Even no response is a response. Yeah. Let's listen to Senator Slim Kolawole Folani. And by the time we are back, there's a lot to talk about on this particular one. We'll be back.
The party has told us not to say anything. The results will be announced in Abuja, we were told. So you can't say anything.
Are you going to work with whoever emerges?
I'm a party man. I'm a party man. I'm a party man. I'm a party man.
You are going to support the person?
I am a party man.
Okay, that was Senator Teslim Folani. That's the party man for you. Yeah. He kept insisting, I'm a party man. And
right.
that for me means that you are sitting on the fence. Whoever wins, fine. Whoever loses, fine. As long as the party is still intact, I will be with whoever wins the election. And that speaks volume about how he did not show his 100% support to someone who you call his younger brother, who has been seen lately, obnobbing with him. They've been going to parties together, praying together, traveling together. And when the time came for people to see Senator Teslim Folani give him his open backing, it did not happen. And that's talking about Chief Bayo Adelabu during the primary elections. Senator Teslim Kolawole Folani was nowhere to be found. And even his brother, who was standing right behind him in this particular video, was seen in the camp of Senator Sharafadin Abiodun Ali. So some people were saying, look, probably Senator Teslim Folani leaned more towards who the president actually wanted, according to reports that the president endorsed Barrister Sharafadin Abiodun Ali. But I mean, it's all clear for everyone to see now that there's a direction in the APC.
All right, and I think majority of the APC members in Oyo State openly supported Sharafadin Ali, even on their Twitter page. When you read their tweets, they will say we had a meeting with Barrister Sharafadin, this and that. So basically, I think it was obvious. I mean, at some point, it wasn't obvious at some point because both of them were claiming the president endorsed me, and then so later it was hard for people to say, okay, who is going to win the primaries? Because at the end of the day, they all knew that whosoever the president endorsed will be the person that will win the primaries, because these people will support that person basically. And then I also want to say that now let's just talk about, you mentioned something about the general elections. I think the last general election 2023. I think something led to a problem, the FCT factor, because I remember that's one of the major things that Peter Obi was very keen on, to say that according to the law, his own interpretation of the law, if at all the one candidate has massive vote or more votes than others and is unable to win FCT, he cannot be pronounced as president. But then things change, because some persons were saying, oh, FCT is a state. No, FCT is not a state. So I think before these current elections, we should solve that dichotomy behind the FCT. Let's know, are we interpreting FCT as a state, or is this separate? Do we have 36 states and the FCT? Because I mean, it caused a lot of issues. Monies was spent over that particular issue in the court, and then we were on it for months before we actually got the pronouncement. So I think it's one thing really should settle. Now let's talk about how they were able to get votes. You mentioned they've been trying to get their members to register, and then I just feel for the opposition parties, because basically they will come out now to complain about one or two, and they are not doing what they are supposed to do. There was a time Aisha Yesu said about maybe 2 million votes, 2 million persons registered with the ADC, and then and then that same person left to the NDC to go and contest for I think
as she left, she took away about 1 million.
So maybe they have like 1 million votes left now. And then till now, ADC is still struggling with whether we are going for consensus or primary elections. Because why? Amici said he's not going to step down for anybody. Even on national TV, when the interviewer was asking him, would you be VP? He said, don't call me. He almost got angry, actually, because the person kept saying VP. VP said, I did not buy VP ticket. I want to contest for presidency. And of course, Ayatollah is also saying, okay, I'm interested in contesting. And then there's Atiku, who who was VP before, we know, obviously, will not
will
become
never be VP to
anybody.
Not even the current crop of people
Exactly.
in the ADC, because it feels like he's way ahead of them in terms of politics in Nigeria. So I don't see Atiku being, a deputy to any one of them.
So ADC, I don't know, they're in a lot now. I don't know how they're going to manage this situation, because at the end of the day, people are still fighting for who becomes.
Did you monitor their primary elections over the weekend?
It was a lot.
They had two different factions having primaries in Oyo State. In fact, one of them contested on two different platforms. It was with this faction, it was with the other faction. And that's talking about Chief Adegoke. He contested at the faction of Chief Olono, who happens to be the chairman of ADC even before Aregbesola and David Mark came into the party. And he also contested on the other faction too. He won one, he lost the other. And maybe the man was trying to not to put all his eggs in one basket. Right. At the end of the day, he's been pronounced winner of one faction, and there's Eleni was pronounced the winner of the other faction. So the question now is, it is even being disputed, all these factions, it is being disputed that, oh, you did not win, I won, the road result for you, things like that, within the parties, within the factions. So when they are done settling their crisis in the faction, at the factional level, they will now come to party level, at the state level, and now settle the dispute. So I think the ADC is in for a long thing. Okay, there might likely not be any ADC candidate, especially in Oyo State and some other states where they're having issues on the ballot. And another thing that happened is that the Kachiku faction of the ADC also had their own convention, I think yesterday, that produced Kachiku as the presidential candidate of that political party. Whereas Atiku Abubakar is still somewhere vying for the ticket with Rotimi Amechi. It's going to be a very big issue for them to sort. And at the end of the day, they might not have a candidate on the ballot. All
right. And I think when some persons were blaming Peter Obi and Kwakanzu for leaving the party, others came out to say, I mean, it's obvious now. Do you want him to stay in that kind of party where it's obvious they were not going to give him the ticket, and they will still spend weeks going to court, to and fro? So obviously he saw that.
Obi was practically begging on national TV, telling them, please, we have come to join you now. Please don't go to court.
Even NDC, I think he mentioned this now, even the NDC where he's now, he said, no, let's not go to court and then waste time again.
That's what he was saying.
Because he doesn't believe in going to court, maybe because of what he went through in 2023. I just mentioned that the whole FCT matter, they were on need for more. So he was tired, exhausted from going to court, paying lawyers, and he said, okay, I want to stay where there's peace. Because, I mean, most people have even come out to say that he doesn't have that rigor for maybe, strong, or let me say, let's be going to court, this and that. He doesn't have that strength, basically. But then NDC, I just want to speak on ADC just before I move on now. Because this party now, it's clear that they don't know what they want to do. So how are they going to prepare for general elections? They are not even talking about registering people again, because especially when some persons left the party. NDC too, we are not hearing so much about the party. Let's not even talk about Labour Party. Don't forget that a lot of persons followed Peter Obi when he left the party, because he was a presidential candidate in 2023. So it appears that APC in a way, even beyond, I don't even know how they did it, because last weekend, before this primary election, there was a lot of chaos in the APC, basically because of the primary elections, not presidential now, the governorship, the senatorial, and of course the House of Assembly. So how they were able to manage that? See, APC is looking like a course now that you might want to study in uni, because beyond the chaos, all that happened, and some persons fought online, some persons were injured. Remember what even happened in Oyo State? They were able to manage that crisis, and people still came out like that, en masse, to vote for their candidate for the presidency. And kudos to the AP. I don't know what they are doing, but I think other political parties should also learn from the ruling party that, yes, you can be fighting. They were fighting. A lot of persons were disgruntled, but they saw that, okay, let's even come out and vote and then forget this, keep this behind us. I think that's what other opposition parties are lacking. You might be going to a law, you might not be okay with what somebody is doing to you in the party, but when it comes to doing the right thing for your party, you should still come out and then leave certain things behind. They don't know how to do that.
The APC has always done is that when it comes to crisis, they know how to fight within the political party. They surely know how to do that. Right. But when it comes to having issues with other political parties, they will share whatever it is they are having within their own political party and face you head on. And by the time they are done with you, they'll come back and face themselves and discuss whatever it is. And I think the way the political party was, set up from the beginning, it's more or less like a coalition of some political parties. We had the Congress for Progressive Change at that time, led
CPC.
by Buhari, and then you had the ACN at that time, and they came together to say, look, let's form an alliance. We know during the last election you got so number of votes, and we also got this. If you match that together, it means that we can win a presidential election in Nigeria. And the mathematics actually worked. And if you look at the kind of the Ashiwaju politics being played in the APC, it's not the type that throws everyone away. Okay? Once it feels like these I have not given to you, but then be rest assured that at the next time I'm going to get you something. I will cite an instance, and that baffles me a lot. You remember the kind of wave Jandor made in Lagos in the last general election, and he went to the APC. Whatever took him to the APC, I don't know.
Even his deputy, Fukakele, has moved on with her life.
Has moved on with her life. So Jandor went to the APC. He said he was going to contest, and till now he has gone to rest about it, and he's not even talking about his ambition anymore. And you look at SMA Gold, Samuel Mawuyon, Dr. Samuel Mawuyon Ajose, who actually was, was willing and hell-bent on slugging it out against KOH, Kadri Obafemi Hamzat, who is the Deputy Governor of Lagos State right now. In fact, when people told him to step down, he said he wasn't going to do it. And by the time the president called him, he told his people who were visibly crying at the scene and said, look, the president said I should step down. That's how we'll sort it out later. I mean, that whatever it is he told him to step down still needs to be studied. And now he talks to them to say, look, this is what I want. And I feel like the same thing was done in Oyo State, just that some people did not want to listen to what the president, they felt like they had a chance. And, they actually went for it.
And it's a concern, actually, because, I mean, the same game that is playing out in Oyo APC this time is the one that played out in 2022, 2023. Right. So if care is not taken...
There might just be an opposition in Oyo State for another 8 years.
For another 8 years, if they don't do it right. Because at the end of the day, people are saying, oh, this man resigned his job, and then 3 years and the wait and the contest is saying the president endorsed me. It was actually funny to us. Maybe some person saw today, and that was why they were concerned for Adelabu when he resigned. Because at some point, people were even concerned for him. Why would you go and resign when it's not even certain that you will get a ticket? But maybe because he felt, he has the popularity. This is not the first time that he'll be contested. He's contested severally, and then he got, some reasonable votes too, alongside the likes of Teslim. So APC or your state, I don't know how they want to play it. But then if you look at the body language of, let's say, 80 to 85% of the APC or your state member, they are supporting Sharafa Ali.
Well,
so you really cannot tell what will happen, basically.
Now, let me quickly say this before we leave this topic this morning. There is no way they will not support Barrister Sharafa Ali, and I'll tell you that. As at the time they were all supporting Barrister Sharafa Ali, their hopes and their aspirations to return to office was hanging by a thread. They needed that ticket. And by all indications, the only person that got the nod, visibly by what we were saying, was Barrister Sharafa Ali. So if you want a return ticket, I don't see you queuing behind someone else. Another thing that happened was the fact that, look at that of Engineer Remi Oseni, who was a member representing, I think, Ido Ibarapa Federal Constituency. And what happened was that he was given a senatorial ticket. Right? I mean, a nod to contest as a senator. And what he wanted, where he was going, was currently being occupied by someone who is supporting.
Who is contesting?
Of course.
You don't need an angel to tell you
where he was going to be. So obviously he was going to support Barrister Sharafa Ali because he was gunning for that seat.
Do you even know that there are some persons who stepped down for other candidates and they have openly declared their support for Sharafa Ali?
Yes.
You really cannot tell where they're doing that.
So
it's about interest.
Of course.
And that's why you see that those people like Jandor that stepped down, they didn't just step down. They've had some conversations. And that's why you see that after the election, some persons will just get, some miracle positions. And you begin to wonder, no, you can trace it back to before the elections, because the president knows how to placate people and he knows how to compensate them. Maybe that's what some politicians, lack. Integrity, because that's what they are saying in the party, because some of them would have left. We've seen some politicians come out in the public
compensations
to
come
cry.
after the election.
Not really cry, maybe to just complain, to say that this person promised me this before elections and I supported him. And after the elections, everything changed. But when it comes to the president, he knows how to compensate.
He definitely knows how to keep his promise.
Just be calm and then be expecting some, funny positions by the time we are done with elections.
So Yemi, if you were engineer Yemi Oseni, I'm sure you wouldn't support someone else other than Barrister Sharafaddin Ali because of what he was at stake at that time.
That was what a lot of them did.
He needed that ticket, and now he has it, and of course they can actually move on from there. And they also mentioned something about the interpretation of what qualifies you to be declared president, in Nigeria, and you have to win the highest number of valid votes cast nationwide and score at least 25% of the vote in no fewer than 2/3 of the 36 states and the federal capital territory. So the problem is the and. Okay, the and is not, the interpretation will now depend on how you see it and your own kind of English, actually.
And the judge who is going to preside over the matter. Because according to the opposition parties back then, I think Labour Party, they said the president did not get up to that vote, 25% of vote in the FCT. I think Obi did that. He had more votes in the FCT. And that was what Labour Party was banking on. They were holding on to it.
And that wasn't even
like
enough to declare him as
exactly, because of the number of votes.
Yeah.
But then they were saying that the judge interprets that well. I remember Kenneth Okonkwo, he was on national TV severally saying the FCT. So if we don't plan it now before the next election, so we don't know who is going to preside. Okay, let's just hope that the matter will not get to court.
I think that has been placed. It has gone to rest. And the reason I said that is because we now have a precedence. Okay, the last election, President Tinubu was declared winner and did not even win the FCT. He did not even win his home state. So meaning that whatever happens in the next election, there's a precedence to look back to. Oh, in 2023, it happened this way, and in 2027, there will be no difference.
That's if they don't appeal.
That's what I see.
Because, some of the politicians, they just want to spend, but they don't care whether they are not going to.
They will appeal, and then the judgment will come. Regardless of whoever presides on the case. The law is not blind. It relies solely and most times on precedence. Okay, if there's a precedence, it happened. You see them quoting according to Taylor versus hairdresser in 1979. This was the judgment. They rely so much on precedence, so much.
Now, it doesn't matter whether that court ruling at the time was the best. So
right.
If at all he had issues, they will always refer back to it, and it's a big problem, basically.
All right, it's a convenient point to leave that topic this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do not forget to link up with us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. It is time to help you plan your day and take weather report on this show this morning. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan. Right now in Ibadan, weather is currently at 24 degrees Celsius, and it will rise to 28 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be cloudy and the humidity will be around 24%. There's a promise of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, with weather rising further to 30 degrees Celsius. Humidity rises drastically to 55%, with a promise of showers later in the evening as weather drops to 26 degrees Celsius, and humidity at 42%. It will be cloudy overnight at 24 degrees Celsius and humidity at 8% in the ancient city of Ibadan today.
And from Ibadan, let's cross to Lagos this morning. Weather in Lagos feels like 29 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius, showers around 38%. In the afternoon, we have 30 degrees Celsius, showers around 39%. And in the evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, showers around 44%. Overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 24%. And that's what we have for Lagos this morning.
All right, away from Lagos, we take this one from Abeokuta, Ogun State this morning. As we speak, weather is currently similar to Ibadan at 24 degrees Celsius. So, and just like in Ibadan, to rise by 4 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning, it will be cloudy with humidity at 6%. But the difference is that there's a promise of showers in the afternoon and evening in Abeokuta, with weather being at 30 degrees Celsius and 26 degrees Celsius respectively. And humidity rises to 63% in the afternoon, and by evening it drops to 46%. And overnight it will be cloudy with weather at 25 degrees Celsius and humidity similar to Ibadan at 8% today.
And of course, we crossed to Ilorin this morning. Weather in Ilorin feels like 24 degrees Celsius, and later is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 5%. And in the afternoon, we have 31 degrees Celsius, scattered thunderstorms around 56%. That's really massive. And in the evening, it drops to 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 24%. And overnight, it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 8%. And that's what we have for Ilorin this morning.
All right, away from Ilorin, we go to another south-south state, and that is Port Harcourt, River State this morning. As we speak, weather is currently at 22 degrees Celsius in Port Harcourt, and it will rise by 4 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be mostly cloudy. Humidity will be at 24%. And of course, there's a promise of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon as weather rises just by a degree to 27 degrees Celsius. Humidity rises as high as 58%. It will be cloudy in the evening as it drops to 22 degrees Celsius, humidity at 24%. It drops further to 21 degrees Celsius overnight. It will be mostly cloudy and humidity will be at 20% right there in Port Harcourt, River State.
I'm from Port Harcourt. Let's cross to Maiduguri, Borno, and weather in Maiduguri this morning feels like 32 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 34 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 38 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%, and in the evening, it drops to 31 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%, and overnight, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2%, and that's what we have for Maiduguri, Borno State this morning.
All right, away from Borno State, we take this one from Abuja. And as we speak in the FCT, weather is currently at 24 degrees Celsius. And of course, later in the morning rises to 27 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy with humidity at 14%. There will be scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon at 29 degrees Celsius and humidity at 46 degrees Celsius. A promise of showers in the evening at 25 degrees Celsius, and the humidity will be at 40%. Overnight, it will drop to 24 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy and humidity goes back to 8% in the FCT today.
From FCT, we cross to Kano Municipal, and weather in Kano feels like 31 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 35 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 8%. And in the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 4%. And overnight, we have 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%. And that's what we have for Kano this morning.
All right, away from Kano, lastly, we'll take this one from Suleja in Niger State. As we speak, weather is similar to that of Abuja at 24 degrees Celsius. It will rise to 27 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be cloudy, humidity at 14%. There will be scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon as weather rises to 29 degrees Celsius and humidity climbs to 46%. And there will be showers in the evening at 25 degrees Celsius, humidity rising further to 53%, while it will be mostly cloudy overnight as weather drops back to 24 degrees Celsius and humidity at 8% in Suleja, Niger State today. And that's all we can take on weather reports this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast, and of course, like our Facebook page at Dominion Broadcast Television. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we return, we'll take the news to be back.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB event today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. Ipaton. President Bola Tinubu has secured the presidential ticket of the All Progressives Congress (APC) ahead of the 2027 general election. Tinubu emerged winner following the party's nationwide direct presidential primary held on Saturday across Nigeria's 8,809 wards and the 774 local government areas. It was officially declared the winner after results from across the country were collated. Tinubu faced APC chieftain and businessman Stanley Osif of Edo State in the contest. Vice President Kashim Shettima has reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to strengthening bilateral relations with the Republic of Benin, describing both countries as partners bound by history, culture, trade, and shared security interest. Shettima stated this in Cotonou while representing President Bola Tinubu at the inauguration of Benin's President Ramot Wadani. According to a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications, Stanley Nwokocha, the Vice President said Nigeria's presence at the event reflected President Tinubu's commitment to stronger relations with neighboring countries. Shettima noted that Nigeria and Benin share deep historical and cultural ties with communities and families connected across the nearly 600-kilometer border. The Nigerian Army has warned members of the public against fraudulent social media accounts impersonating senior military officials, particularly on Facebook. In a statement issued on its official X platform, the Army said fraudsters had created fake accounts impersonating the Deputy Chief of Standards and Evaluation, Major General Raymond Usaha, while using the photograph of the Chief of Policy and Plans, Major General Bamdele Alabi. The Army said the fake accounts were created to deceive and defraud unsuspecting members of the public through false representations and unauthorized online engagement. According to the statement, the accounts are not linked to the Nigerian Army and should be disregarded. The Kwara State Police Command has confirmed the killing of 3 worshippers and the abduction of 15 others following an attack by armed assailant at a prayer ground in Ekiti local government area of the state. The incident occurred on Saturday night at Orioke Ajayi on the outskirts of Ikiron village in the Keri-Ajibo axis, causing panic among residents of surrounding communities. Police spokesperson Adito Nigeria DME, in a statement issued in Ilorin, said the Commissioner of Police Adike Mujo condemned the attack and described it as gruesome and unacceptable. The police said the armed men invaded the prayer ground, fired sporadically, and fled with 15 worshippers to an unknown destination after killing 3 people. In business, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has directed its department to suspend services to 11 domestic airlines with unpaid statutory charges owed to the regulator. The directive was contained in an internal memo issued by the agency's Director of Finance and Accounts, Olufemi Odukoya. According to the memo, all regulatory and administrative services to the affected airlines are to be withheld until the debts are cleared or repayment arrangements are reached. The NCAA said that dispute centers on the 5% ticket sales charge and cargo sales charge collected by airlines on behalf of the regulator to support safety oversight, personnel training and economic regulation in the aviation sector. And in sports, 17 players are now in the Super Eagles camp in London ahead of the Unity Cup. Goalkeeper Francis Uzor, Chibuike Iwaiwu and Rafiu Durosimi are the latest arrivals in camp, joining 14 other players who reported earlier on Saturday. The squad is preparing for their semi-final clash against Zimbabwe. Head coach Eric Chell's side held their first training session at Crave Valley FC in Middle Park Avenue, London, and are expected to continue preparations with another session later in the day. The Super Eagles will face Zimbabwe on Tuesday at the Valley, London. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And that ends Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for watching and good morning.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. This is newspaper headlines and analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. And this morning we start with New Telegraph with the banner headline that says a toast to President Tinubu with the cap fit. And of course, across the nation, people congratulating the president on winning the primaries. And then he secured about 10.9 million votes. And of course, that's quite massive, compared to what he even garnered in the 2023 general elections, which was about 8.7 million votes. And away from that, we also have this headline that says Nigeria at high risk of Ebola importation. NSDC warns activate emergency response teams. Sanwo-Olu triggers surveillance response. I think we need to be very particular about this one because I remember when Ebola first came, people died in their thousands, young, adult, short and tall. It was a very terrible situation in the country. And so we can just, do certain things that can keep us safe, across homes, even the schools. We can get, the buckets that, people who had that time in schools to ensure that kids they wash their hands, and even adults, we should encourage that amongst ourselves basically. And away from that, I also have this headline that says fuel supply showdown. AGF moves to defend Nigeria's energy security in Dangote suit. There's another suit going on now, and of course it talks about the supply of fuel. Don't forget there was a time that even the marketers were complaining that Dangote is trying to monopolize the sector, and then he said that I'm just trying to help basically, because if you look at our own refineries that have been moribund for years, and then we keep pumping money, and then this man just came in a few years and set up a refinery which is working perfectly. Imagine if there's no Dangote refinery in Nigeria. How much do you think we'll be buying a liter of fuel right now? And away from that, we cross to Daily Independent with this headline that says economic reforms alone won't spark private sector growth. And I think it's a very good statement that economic reforms alone will not spark private sector growth. We need to do more beyond economic reforms, because it's not just about reforming the laws, it's about making sure that they work. There are some small firms that are just coming up, the infant firms, and then they have complained several times that tax is killing them, and because of that a lot are packed up. I think is one area we should look at as well. So what can we do for these infant firms? We're not talking about the big ones now, the ones that are just starting. Don't forget, even in this country, some foreign companies left already. I don't want to mention names now. They left the country because of the situation of the economy. So before we can actually attract some of these companies again, we need to make sure that even our local firms, our local companies, the infants, the big ones, they must thrive. I mean, it must be obvious to the public that they are thriving. And so this will attract the foreign ones to see, we want to come and invest. And I think that's why the president has been traveling for months now. He's been to France, he's been to Turkey, he's been to the UK, several times just to make sure that. And I think part of why he was there is to attract investors to have certain conversations. Yeah, loan is also in the picture, but I think beyond borrowing money, there's also the discussion around investment in the country, basically. And another highlight is saying Tinubu pledges to deepen economic reforms, strengthen security, receives certificate of return as APC 2027 presidential candidate. I remember, I think I tried to check the pulse of the people on Twitter yesterday, X, and then some persons were congratulating the president while others were complaining that at a time when Nigeria is still grappling with severe insecurity, the ruling president and of course the ruling party are more concerned about his return ticket. But at the end of the day, I think primaries is one thing that they had to do, even though before the primaries it was obvious to some persons that he was going to win. Why do I say that? Before the primaries, the NWC, the NEC, the Progressive Governors Forum, and there are a lot of other persons openly supported the president, and then they chanted, "On your mandate we shall stand." As far back as 2025, they've been chanting that song. So imagine. So it was obvious he was going to win, because if you look at the vote of Stanley, in some state he had 0 votes, 16,505. But then, I mean, he's become popular because of that. I mean, he had to slug it out with the president. So at the end of the day, he's been able to insert his name in history. And this is not the first time. The first time he was an aspirant under the People's Democratic Party. That was in 2019. He bought his form for about 12 million naira. And this year he bought about 100 million naira. So who knows? He might decide to contest the next election, or maybe he might get an appointment. who can tell, basically. And from that, let's talk about insecurity as well, because it's one thing some Nigerians are complaining about. I think something very terrible happened in Kwara on Saturday evening at about 8:30. This church, they were having a night vigil, according to report, 8:30 in the evening, and these guys came in. They killed 3 persons, abducted 15 worshippers at that church, and of course the pastor came out to explain things to the people. I think this is not the first time that something like this will be happening in Kwara. Kwara is like the hotspot now, not just the only state now, but a lot is going on in Kwara state. I remember some persons were shot. There was a video that people were being, and people were, scampering for safety just a few months back, and now there's another attack of 15 people. Don't forget, we are still dealing with people who were abducted at the Orire local government, recently in your state, about 45 students and then teachers, and one teacher was even killed. They had to behead him, and the videos, it's a gory sight. You don't want to view it. So we need to do something about our security system in this pause. But then I think we also should be intentional about securing the lives of the people, because at the end of the day, beyond elections, you want to rule over the people. So if you don't have people to rule over, then what's the point of the elections? We must also secure the lives and property, just like what John Locke said. It's a social contract. It should be symbiotic. If the people support you to win an election, and then in turn, you should ensure that their lives and property are safe, and that's where we have a balance. But if one is lacking, then it becomes traumatic for that party, basically. And that's an advice to the ruling government, APC, and of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And from that, we cross to Daily Trust this morning. And I have a headline that says ADC presidential primaries, Atiku Amechi Ayatollah battle for ticket. This one is very peculiar, and I don't know where they are going. And so maybe people who blame Peter Obi for leaving the party would now change their song to something else. Because, look at the chaos that is going on within the party now. Atiku is saying, I'm not going to step down. And Amechi is saying, I'm not going to step down. Ayatollah is also battling for the ticket. Just one ticket. And then what I heard, according to what I read this morning, if these people are not willing to step down for the other person, they might need to go through primaries. And then according to Amici, he's more than ready for the contest. He wants to slug it out. So maybe primaries is the only thing that can solve this problem within the ADC. So whosoever wins the primaries becomes the candidate, and maybe others can now support that person. But with that happen within the ADC, I think it's something we should look out for. And away from that, we also have a headline that says Nigeria remains World Bank's 3rd largest borrower. Wow. With $18.5 billion. What a record. 3rd largest borrower in the whole world. Look at that amount, $18.5 billion. No, it's not far-fetched, because look at how much we borrowed in the last few days. I remember the last money we borrowed is the 2nd largest that we have borrowed over time. And so you begin to wonder how they came about this, this stat. So I think the stat is correct, because we've been borrowing excessively over the months. And even some persons came out to say, maybe this ruling government is trying to borrow for campaign. And others said, no, it's beyond that. They mentioned several things they want to use the money for. But are Nigerians buying that argument? I think that's one thing to note. I've only said this over time, that borrowing is not a problem. I can mention quite a number of persons to you who borrow to build their business. Talk about Dangote, talk about Otedola, and even a lot of, even Tony Elumelu, the Elumelus of this world, the Dangotes of this world, that are not even so, they are not as popular as these people. They all borrowed at some point, but then you can see why they borrowed. And then there's a system that will enable them to pay back the money out of the profit. Yes, Nigeria, are we a country that is profiting in any manner? What are we producing? What are we sending overseas? We import more than we export, and we've been saying this, as far back as 2020, 2015, many years ago. We've been complaining about the fact that we need to produce. It's not just about consuming. Another problem is the fact that most Nigerians, we prefer, when they get to the store, the supermarket, they prefer to pick up something that was produced in the UK or US than to pick up a product that was produced in Asaba or in Kogi State. And that's another problem, the psyche, because they prefer those products. They think those products are superior to the ones produced in Nigeria. So if we are tackling, exporting, we also must tackle the cycle of every single Nigerian on ensuring that we start, patronizing our own people. And of course, the producers too, they should produce good things too, because it's not just about saying people should buy from you. You also must ensure that you produce quality that people, we appreciate, basically. And away from that, let's also check this one that says Edik B commuters spend hours on Abuja, Kaduna. We're still taking headlines from Daily Trust. Of course, we are very close to the festive period. Of course, congratulations to all Muslim faithfuls across the world, even as they prepare for this particular, event. And then I remember I watched the video on Twitter a few days back, and the person was saying he's scared of traveling home for this particular festive because of the insecurity in the nation. And I think that person is from Oshobo. Look at what happened in Oshobo recently. People were kidnapped and things like that. So it should not be like that. People should be eager to travel home to their families, to celebrate with them in times like this, basically. But because of insecurity, some persons will say it's better to celebrate at home and remain alive than travel where you are not so sure about your safety, basically. And away from that, we cross to the Punch newspaper, and I have a headline that says APC primaries to post 10.9 million votes to clinch presidential ticket. And of course, Stanley Osifo will slug it out with him at about 16,503 votes in total, basically. And away from that, we also check out this headline that says 2027 race, ADC picks Tinubu's challenger today. Excellent. Atiku Amechi Ayatollah fight for party's presidential flag. I mentioned that they could not, conclude on consensus, so they are going to slug it out amongst themselves today in the primary. So let's just be calm and of course expect who is going to come out or who is going to win the primaries, because it's going to happen. You can show us that. We'll give you the update as soon as we have it, basically. And from the Punch, we cross to the Guardian newspaper, and I have a headline still talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think today the great part of today will be about celebrating the president for winning the primaries, basically. And the headline is saying that Tinubu to sustain reforms after APC's 10.9 million votes across the nation. It toast to President Tinubu will the cap fit. That's what the papers are saying this morning. I'm very sure that even FCTs are going right now, and even Asuro, they're still in the mood of celebration, because the president won the primary elections. And away from that, we cross to Daily Sun, and we have a headline that says ADC 3.4 million members to decide Atiku Amechi Ayatollah's fate today. I don't know why Daily Sun decided to give us that figure. Basically, it's telling us that about 3.4 million members of the ADC are set to decide who is going to become the party flag bearer today. And of course, it's happening today, and then we'll feed you back on whatsoever it is that we have on that particular story. And away from Daily Sun, we cross to Nigerian Tribune, and we have a headline that says we will place Nigeria on irreversible path of economic expansion with another 4 years. That's coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We will place Nigeria on an irreversible path of economic expansion with another 4 years. The question is, the last 3 years, how much have we been able to achieve in terms of economic expansion? Are we producing more? Our IGR, or how is it doing? Not just at the federal level, across the state and local government. As it gets certificate of return for winning APC presidential primary, it's going to receive that, and of course, people who have been celebrating them across the nation. And away from that, I think that's all we have on Nigerian Tribune. We cross to the Nation and still talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I said it when a few minutes back, but today is basically about him, speaking about what the papers are writing. Tinubu wins with 10.9 million votes across the nation. And of course, in Bayelsa alone, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had about 277,000 votes. In Bayelsa alone. I mean, even some governors did not have up to that for their own governorship election in some states. And then the president was able to gather that in Bayelsa for primary election. Let's not even talk about the northern states and, of course, all of the states in the country. And from the Nation, we cross to Vanguard newspaper, which is the final paper for this morning. And I have this headline that says, 2027, 31 APC governors endorsed Tinubu with 10.99 million votes. We won't allow opposition with no clear vision to take Nigeria backward. That's coming from the president. 31 governors out of how many? Out of 36 governors, just 5 governors who are not members of the APC, and they came out, they mobilized their people to support the president, for the primary election. And another line is saying absence of insurance cover for airports exposes federal government to losses. compensation claims. I think it's something we need to do. Speaking about insurance that will cover the airports, basically the lives of people, we need to be intentional about that. Because if you look at some Western countries, they put things in place, and yes, people say we are still developing. Nigeria is a developing country, but for how long? If care is not taken, you see the young ones, they will still refer to Nigeria as a developing country. In the next 10-20 years, if we do not do something tangible, people might still refer to Nigeria as a developing country. When are we going to remove the ing and then replace it with ed, a developed country? I'm sure we can get there, basically. And then finally, the headline I'm seeing on the Vanguard newspaper this morning saying Nigeria at high risk of Ebola virus importation, and that's coming from NCDC. And I think we've spoken about that already, that we need to be very intentional about putting an end to Ebola virus in this nation. I mentioned that when it first came, a lot of people died. People died in their thousands, the young and the old. So we need to just do the basic, whatsoever it is you can do to make sure that you're safe. Get sanitizer, wash your hand properly and regularly, get your nose mask if you're going to a very crowded environment. I think these are the things we should put in place, basically. And of course, let me just talk about, I don't have the headline in the papers this morning. I just want to talk about the Quora attack. I mentioned that 3 people were killed, 15 worshippers were abducted, and then that incident happened, on Saturday night at about 8:30 p.m. in the evening. And then it's a lot. I think we need to be very intentional about, getting these people out of the den of the abductors, basically. And then let's also not forget about those we abducted in Oriri, about 45 students, and then the teachers too. We need to get them out. I think over the weekend I watched a video, Sunday Bull, right? And then he launched his own security system called Irwekun, and the Nigerians have been asking questions to say, how is this going to help the insecurity that we have in the country? And he said it's voluntary, that if you want to join, you can join. He's not collecting money from it. I don't know why somebody is smiling in the studio. Maybe he wants to join the team. I'm not quite sure. But he's saying you can join, and then you're not going to pay for registration. If you're interested in joining the Irwekun dynasty, basically you know what to do, get online, and then get the necessary information. So beyond that, we also need more in this nation. Somebody said at the time that we should not get help from the US. If we can we need all the help that we can get basically at this time, because it's looking like Nigeria cannot tackle it, whereas we have what it takes to put an end to insecurity in this nation. But then, do we have the political will? And then how much are we trying to fish out those who are sabotaging the effort of the army, the effort of the police force, to actually, put an end to insecurity in this nation? It's a fine place to leave this discussion this morning. Don't forget that we'll get back to you speaking about the outcome of the ADC, the primary elections on that one. Thank you for being a part of the segment. My name is Olayemi Adelakun. We take a short break now, and then when we come back, we move on to the big story. Please stay with us.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Live once again on Dominion Television, and this is the big story. The segment where we take a deeper look at the issues shaping our society and demanding urgent national attention. Today we focus on a matter that strikes at the very heart of our future, the safety of Nigerian children within and beyond the classroom walls. Over the years, schools across Nigeria have increasingly become vulnerable to insecurity, violence, abuse, bullying, and kidnappings. From the heartbreaking abduction of over 270 schoolgirls from Government Girls Secondary School in Chibok, Borno State, and that was around April 2014, to the kidnapping of students from Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, in Katsina State in December 2020, and the abduction of pupils from LEA Primary School, Kuriga, in Kaduna State in March 2024. The question remains, are Nigerian schools truly safe spaces for learning anymore? Beyond kidnappings, disturbing cases of bullying and student abuse have also raised fresh concerns about the culture within many schools. In 2023, a bullying incident involving students at Lead British International School in Abuja sparked nationwide outrage after a viral video showed a student repeatedly assaulted by a fellow student while others watched. Similarly, in 2024, another disturbing incident emerged from Beautiful Beginning Academy in Abuja, where senior students were seen loosely chaining a junior student around the neck in what the school initially described as a play, prompting public criticism and investigation. As these incidents continue to challenge parents, educators, and policymakers, many Nigerians are asking difficult but necessary questions about child protection, school policies, mental health awareness, security preparedness, and institutional accountability. Well, Samson Balogun is mine, and thank you for joining us on today's edition of The Big Story. Because today's conversation takes us beyond the gates, rewriting the blueprint for 21st century school safety in Nigeria. But before I go forward, let's go on a quick break. And when we return, the show continues proper. We'll be back after this time out.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB event today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
All right, welcome back from that short break, and the show is still The Big Story on Dominion Television. And joining us for this particular important topic is a distinguished educationist, school safety advocate, and development strategist, Dr. Bisi Akinyalabi, popularly known as Esu Show, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, formally.
Formally, okay. All right, Dr. Bisi Akinyalabi is the former special advisor on education to the immediate past government of Oyo State, and of course, the CEO of School Run Academy Ventures and the lead of Safe Schools Lagos. Well, we hope she brings that to your state anyway. An initiative committed to promoting inclusive and globally aligned school safety standards across Nigeria. She's an accomplished scholar. She is an alumna of University of Lagos, London South Bank University, King's College London, the University of Westminster, and the University of Surrey. Through her leadership at the Safe School Lagos, she pioneered school safety compliance systems designed to strengthen child protection measures in both public and private schools. In fact, I cannot continue to read and read and read because she's got a lot in her bag, and her contributions to education and child safety have earned notable recognitions, including 2023 National British Awards Meritorious Award in London and the 2025 Female Achievers Award in the School Safety category by City People Group. She was also recognized in the United Kingdom by former Prime Minister Tony Blair and invited to 10 Downing Street for a dinner with cabinet members. And a lot. She's got a lot in her bag. Good morning to you, Dr. Mrs. Akinyalabi.
Good morning.
Good to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
There's a lot to unpack this morning.
Yes.
And that revolves around school safety. It has become a concern of late. And how serious do you think these issues are, especially in Nigeria?
Thank you. The issues of lack of awareness of safety within the education stakeholders is a huge problem, because it's only children who are well and safe that can learn. So we need to ensure that we keep talking until the government realize that they need to regulate school, not just on academics, because they do that right now, but on safety. Safety is key. And if you think safety is expensive, you can try ignorance, because the cost of ignorance is usually huge, whereby lives are often lost and personalities are maimed. So I can't continue to tell you about the importance of safety. We all know. You know, apart from health, the next is safety.
Right.
You've got to be well to be able to realize your potential. And you've got to be safe in order for you to be able to make a meaningful impact and contribution to your life and to the society. And whosoever is not responsible to themselves and cannot make a reasonable impact on their own lives is useless to the society.
When we talk about 21st century safety protocols in schools, what should Nigerian people understand about that?
They should understand that the school should have a comprehensive safe schools system. They should have what we call the safety management system. A school should have a safety management system, and it should be the standard, the benchmark for giving them the license to operate as a school. Any school that doesn't have a safety management system It's not a school.
Some people believe school security and safety system revolves around fences and security guards. Do you think that definition is too narrow?
It's too narrow because that's just security. Security is an aspect of safety.
Okay.
Right? The comprehensive safety, school safety, includes general safety, physical, transportation safety, sporting, trips, safeguarding and child protection, emergency preparedness, and accident and incidents. So it goes on and on and on. Every part of school life, revolves around safety. Ordinarily, the cleaners should be aware of safety because there's something we call the control of substance, hazardous to health. And most of the time, it's the cleaners that deal with these substances. The bleach, the cleaning material, the toilet material, and so on and so forth. They need to have an awareness and a certificate that they've gone through the COSH training that makes them to know how to store it and even what to wear when they're handling it themselves so that they don't harm themselves. So you can imagine the drivers in the school need to understand confidentiality. They need to know the protocol for transporting children. Children in transit, there is a protocol that you need to understand how to secure them in the vehicle, how to contact confidential details or information of their parents, and so on and so forth. Even the security guards in school have special training to understand how to be a guard in school. To be a guard in school is different from being a guard anywhere else, right? Because of child protection and safeguarding. So I can go on and on and on and on. In schools, what injures the greatest risk in school is trips and falls.
Okay.
And these have caused a lot of harm to school children in the past. There are times when children will fall and nobody will make any notice of it. But that injury will keep moving around the body. The child will develop a blood clot from the fall and it will keep moving around the body. But because the school did not know the first aid to do, it may just be putting ice pack on the location
spot
of impact, or it may be to inform the parent so that they can take the child for proper checks. So there are protocol around safety, robust protocol around safety that schools need to put in place to ensure that our children are safe. And there's also child protection. There's abuse. There's neglect. There are lots and lots of child abuse.
That's where bullying comes in.
Yeah, then bullying. Bullying is it's an emergency. We should declare a state of emergency on bullying in Nigerian schools. And the reason being that the entire Nigerian society is a bully village. Everybody bullies somebody.
There's someone to bully. Everybody.
Exactly. There's always someone to bully. We are so aggressive in that we bully our co-workers, we bully our subordinates, we bully some people that we think are under us, or they're not as influential as us, or they're not on the same level as we are. So, and children picks all this thing up. When you start screaming at children and you're bullying them at home, you need to understand, firstly, that any child that bullies another child comes from a defective home.
Okay.
There's something happening at home that shouldn't be happening. So that is one thing. Educators need to understand this. They need to understand how to look for these traits in children and put in the curriculum extracurricular activities that can mitigate bullying. They need to be transparent about bullying and also have assembly talks on bullying and also have a no tolerance for bullying, policy in schools,
Okay.
right? And also child abuse. Child abuse, teachers raping, or not raping, sleeping with minors. Minors with consent to an adult that they like. Because what we don't understand about children is that they are always willing to conform. Children are always willing to please us.
Okay.
Because we're like giants to them. And that's the reason why we consider minors as vulnerable and we need to protect them. Right. So a child will always consent. But a consent of a child is not seen as consent. It's seen as rape because they are not of age of consent.
Okay.
Right? Being an adult, yes, in Nigeria is 18 years and above. If anything happens, we consider that, okay, you can decide on your own. But a child below 18 is not deemed to have that.
Given consent.
Yes, to have
now,
that.
Now, before we let's talk about several kidnappings that we have witnessed in so many Nigerian schools recently. We saw the case of Chibok girls in Kankara in Katsina State, and most recently that what happened in Ogbomoso in Orire local government. It has becoming a recurrent issue, something we are. It's becoming the new normal in some of these places in Nigeria. And what do you think, what does they reveal about the education sector, and what should the government have done differently to avoid this kind of issue in the first place?
Thank you. It shows that we're weak. The educational sector is weak, and it shows that there's lack of proper defensive measure by the government for the educational sector, especially schools in the rural area. Yes. I don't know why a government will just neglect schools in the rural area.
So rural area, they are more vulnerable.
Yeah, they're vulnerable because they have parks and jungles all around the schools, and the path or the road to the schools are usually very deserted sometimes. In fact, most of the time, But what I don't understand is how these people could navigate through the village, get to the schools, and nobody saw anything to be different. Usually when you go to a small community, a village with a small, they know themselves.
It's easy to locate a stranger.
Exactly. So if somebody strays in, and that is why we're talking about school safety. If government are taking school safety seriously, there will have been advocacy in areas like that. When we were in government, when I was in government with the late Governor Ajimobi, we used to go to Kishi, we used to go to Orire local government, we used to go to all the rural schools in Oyo State. And we used to go to talk to them about school safety. We were going to launch school safety in 2019, thinking that the APC government will still remain in power in Oyo State. In fact, I should have brought all the materials that we have. If you invite me back next time, I will look for all the materials on school safety with Oyo State logo, which shows that we were ready to launch it. In fact, we've launched it inside the secretariat, inviting the schools. I'm sure teachers are listening to me, and they can. The next
thing was to take it to those schools.
Exactly. The next thing was to take it to the next level and make it a policy that is regulated. Right now, safety is not regulated in school because the Ministry of Education only regulates the academic part of education, but there's still the safety part. And what Lagos State has done is that Lagos State has a safety commission which regulates, which regulates for everybody. Parks, pubs, and lounges. There are so many lounges that they close.
Right.
If they flout
that was last year.
Exactly.
A few of them were closed down.
Banks, any public place must be safe for the staff and the stakeholders that are using that place. So in Oyo State, what we should do and the incoming government, whosoever that be, should be listening. The first thing we should do is launch school safety.
School safety.
Because when we launch school safety, we'll be able to work with the security agency. Because the security agency cannot properly police schools without understanding how schools work.
Okay.
There should be a system and a collaboration between the management of the school and the agents, whosoever they are. And what should have the government have done before now? The government should have put in place geofencing. It doesn't cost up to $500
to fence all these schools.
Yes, for geofencing is technology.
Okay.
It's something, it's sensors that you
just place
around a perimeter, maybe 500 meters setback or 1,000 meters setback, right? And there are other local area network sensors that can be used to detect movement, every movement, right? If you are taking 30-something children at the same time and you're lining them up to go through a path, that sensor will pick it up.
Okay.
Right? And we can also have what we call the tracking chip that is as small as a SIM card. You know those mini SIM, tiny SIM. We can put it in the children's body. We can put it in their body. We can sew it on the hem of their uniforms and leave it there. These are chips that can survive with long life battery for days, like 3-5 days. Okay. So every week, maybe twice a week, they change it. But you change where you put it in the child. So if we have 30 children in a classroom, they will all have this chip in different places on their body, because those evil people, the kidnappers, we first of all have to disarm that. They first have to remove that. And if they know that they put it in the wrist, they will just remove the wrist of everybody, the wristband of everybody. But if they know, it's a deterrent, because when you're fighting things like this, things that you can't see, you have to put in place a variety of things to deter these people. And you need to communicate, be transparent about it, and let them know what they are up against.
So should school safety, just like you have mentioned, be mandatory in all Nigerian
Oh yeah,
schools?
Definitely. It should be.
Do we have the political will to get it done?
Oh, of course. We do. Knowledge is power. The people who are handling this part of governance, they don't have a clue. If they do, they will have put it in place.
Would you be willing to work with any administration?
Oh, why not? We tried to work with the president of administration after we left, because everybody thought it was going to continue Oyomesi, because Oyomesi was what the late Governor Ajimobi put in place, which was Oyo State Model Education System interventions. It's a number of interventions. Those are quick wins. When you are faced with a myriad of problems, you don't start from the bottom. You look for low-hanging fruits. And it's the low-hanging fruit that you now start to harvest. And then as you're harvesting it, it will distract people. People will be happy, and then you have time to now fix the root cause of your problems. You don't put elephant projects in place when you have to deal with things that are more pressing, you know, and that is where priorities come in. In Oyo State, between 2016 and 2019, the late Governor Ajimobi declared a priority on education. Oyomesi was a priority on education. Our priority now was character building, because then he thought children were rude. Okay. If you remember the constitutional authority issue, which we turned around. By the time we started Oyomesi, even the Oyomesi children did a play on constitutional authority. They wrote it themselves, which now show that there is no society, no country, no group of people that can survive without constitutional authority. So what the governor said wasn't something, it wasn't out of place.
So what's the role of communities and religious leaders in all of this?
Oh, that's one thing again. The comprehensive school safety initiative should be also run in churches and mosques and lesson anywhere that children congregate, either to play, for fun, for learning or religious activity. There must be safety because of safeguarding. And not only that, the teachers, the educators, people that deal with them in those places that I mentioned needs to be checked for fitness. Are they fit to be there?
Okay.
Are they people that
They're qualified?
have mental health issues? Are they people that are perverts? Are they people that have offended, sex offenders?
Do we even have that record in
We
Nigeria?
don't, but we can start it, right? We can start it. And how do we start it? When things happen, we form a database and we put the name of that person there. That's how we start. It's simple, right? We put the name there and we mandate every school that when you recruit, you must send a slip to tell us you have recruited. Then we run it through that database. And if it comes clear, then that organization that is dealing with school safety will now clear the person. Anybody that is not clear should not be left alone with children. And this is the reason why in England and America and all these developed countries, teaching is a noble profession. The reason why it's a noble profession is that there's safety attached to it. We are professionals. We are not nannies. We understand the issue around child's well-being and safety. We know what to look for. We know when children are being radicalized. Because when you look at kidnapping, terrorism, I need to let you know that you should not be surprised that the children in our school and some of the teachers will be involved. There's no how.
There has to be an internal force.
There's an internal or community members.
So what lesson, just before we go, because our time is fast spent on the show this morning, what lessons do you think Oyo State government and governors in Nigeria should learn, especially if benchmarked against global best practices?
You see, I am tired of us waiting for chaotic situation to happen or crisis before we respond, right?
So we are being reactive.
About 2 years ago,
proactive.
A lot of children died from stampede. That's school safety too. Ordinary stampede. Event management. There's something we call off-site activities, trips, and event. OAT in school safety. There are guidelines. There is risk assessment to be done. You know, every day, schools must have a risk assessment, a global risk assessment. That is, okay, where are we? What are our risks? Where we're located? And every day they remind themselves and they have checklists of things to do. They need to have what we call the lockdown protocol. Schools, they need to understand a security breach. They need to have pre-incident alarm. What do they do first? For example, if they notice somebody just strayed into the school, the children need to understand that. They need to understand what lockdown is. Schools need to put in place lockdown facility, protocol, and physical facility. Like classroom can have security doors.
Lock and keys.
Yes. Those security doors will not be used on a daily basis. It will only be used for lockdown. When they say lockdown, there must be an alarm for lockdown. The first person that sees something unusual will raise that alarm.
Dr. Akialabi, you have to come back here to discuss this because it's much more comprehensive than everyone.
That's why we call it comprehensive school safety.
We really have to explore this topic more, and we'll bring you back to talk about this because our time is fast spent on the show this morning. But we must appreciate your presence on the show, and we'll say thank you for joining us.
Thank you
very soon, probably before the end of the week or next week, you have to be back on this desk because there's a lot to talk about. You have mentioned quite a number of interesting things, and then do we have what it takes to get it done? You mentioned alarms. If you look at our secondary schools and primary schools in Nigeria, you'll really be sorry for the students and the school children.
What the government should do is PPP. They should outsource it.
Public-private.
Yes, the person running it will invest in all the infrastructure, right? Once the safety infrastructure are in place, then schools can be made to pay
A certain amount.
A certain amount, like they subscribe to it.
Okay.
For example, the drills, the fire drills, the lockdown drills should be done by somebody outside. So that the school doesn't even know the day they will come. So they will come, they will have an alarm that they can detonate. I mean, they can set off remotely. And it will be like there's a problem. Okay. And then members of them will now come in and see how the school react. And then they will say, you're dead. Because you acted like this. Okay. You're dead. That's how to get ready. That's what we call emergency or crisis management.
All right, thank you, Dr. Akialabi, for joining us on the show this morning. You will be back on this set, and we'll have to talk about school safety once again. Dr. Bisi Akialabi has been my guest this morning. I will thank her for sharing her insights with us on the show this morning on The Big Story. And it has been a wonderful session. And until we continue to do things the right way, and Nigerians continue to confront issues of security, insecurity, the way it should be done. And protecting children requires deliberate policies, stronger institutions, community involvement, responsible parenting, and sustained investment in education and security infrastructure. The future of any nation is shaped in its classrooms, and every child deserves to learn in the environment free from fear, intimidation, and violence. Of course, we say thank you for staying tuned on this show this morning. Samson Balogo is my name, and I encourage you to continue the conversation responsibly across all our social media platforms. Stay informed and stay safe.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. And of course, we're back for Trend Watch. And what we have is saying, Tinubu says power sector has improved. Data shows at least 20 grid collapses under his watch. I think that's from 2023. And I remember, we had about, 3 to 4 times, collapse, in that particular year. And of course, even this year as well. So some measures are saying, yes, the power sector has improved. I mean, to an extent, even though we all know that the national grid is really old and then they've just been trying to repair here and there. And some are saying, no, it has not improved. No, we need to do more on that particular one. So where do you stand this morning?
Well, I want to believe that, the president has data at his disposal to make this bold claim. He wouldn't have come out this boldly to say this if he has no data on his table. However, I will quickly allude to the fact that, in some areas, I think there has been an improvement, and some have attributed the improvement to the recent rainfall across the country. And since you know that hydro is one of the major sources of electricity in Nigeria, and once there's water in all our dams, definitely there will be, electricity. And for that reason, the president can actually make this claim because some people have actually enjoyed some sort of improvement. However, in some places it has not been so, and they wouldn't agree with the president on this particular one. The most important thing is that the president made a promise that he was going to fix electricity. And that, for me, is one thing he should still stick to and make sure that that is fixed. Because once that problem is solved, about 60 to 70% of problems in Nigeria will be solved. There are so many people who are unemployed right now that would really do fine if there is electricity constant electricity in the country. And I want to believe that he's working assiduously well to make sure that is done. And, you know, he has actually changed his Minister of Power. We now have Joseph Olatunkan in charge since the resignation of...
people are asking, can he do better than Adelabu?
Well, they are both from the finance. They are both from the finance industry. I mean, they are.
You can always learn on the job.
They are from the finance sector, and when you talk about like-for-like replacement, I think that is the definition of like-for-like replacement. But can they fix what is the problem of the country? Is a big question. If Bayo Adelabu couldn't do it, let's hope that Tegbe can actually get something done. Let's take one or two comments before we go.
Right, Prince Daniel Okereke is saying yes, it has improved because you now use solar in Aso Rock. So you don't notice. It's so worrying. You don't even know that the power situation has gotten worse. You are easily I don't know. I say this all the time. You can actually, express your grievances without sounding uncool.
Well, let's take one more.
Right.
From the Okay, well, people have a lot of things to say. Recently, it was actually in the news that solar panels have been installed at Aso Rock, taking them off the national grid. However, that still does not mean...
The presidency said it was to ease the grid, and so make it more comfortable for Nigerians.
Maybe, just like some Nigerians will also say, maybe every Nigerian should also be taken off the grid and put on solar panels. Maybe we'll also do really great.
That's if they can afford it.
And it's a convenient point to leave this topic this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcasts, and of course like our Facebook page at Dominion Broadcast Television. Until tomorrow, where we shall be meeting again on another interesting and engaging edition of the show. Same old, same station, and of course same interesting stories that we used to bring to you, lined up for you on the show this morning. And up next is a sports show, and you will really enjoy that. Samson Balogun is my name, and until next time that we meet, I say keep being good out there, keep being safe. Bye for now.
Thank you for being a part of the show. Ensure that you're safe. See you tomorrow. My name is Adelakun.